Lord through the words of another person, and so do we. It is great mercy. Sometimes God saves us from ourselves. The story concludes with Abigail returning to the fool's finding from the party. Talk about that. She waits to tell him the news until the very next day, and when she tells him, in the midst of his hangover, he catches a glimpse of how serious the situation was, and how it almost cost him his life. It says his heart died within him, and he turned to stone. In other words, he was scared. Then verse 39 tells us that just 10 days later, God struck with his sword. The Lord struck Nabal, and he died. Vengeance is mine, says the Lord. God's justice happens in God's timing. And David recognized that with Saul, but had not yet been satisfied because the justice had not been brought. And now, he recognizes it with Nabal. Look at verse 39. He attributes this to the Lord. David heard that Nabal was dead, and he said, "Blessed be the Lord who has avenged the insult I received at the hand of Nabal, and has kept back his servant from wrongdoing. The Lord, not me, the Lord has returned the evil of Nabal on his own." Let me conclude with one final observation, and that is with regard to Abigail. As she fled with David, she gave him a wonderful blessing. And we see it in verse 28. Abigail meets David on the path, middle of his bloodlust, and she says to him, "Please forgive the trespass of your servant, for the Lord will certainly make my Lord a sure house. Because my Lord is fighting the battle of the Lord, and evil shall not be found in you so long as you live." The blessing for David